folks, I arrived here at Lloyd Noble Center, the place where I graduated high school, just 10 minutes away from my house at about 6:30 today. It's currently 11:30-ish, give or take. I just witnessed the longest college basketball game I've ever seen in my entire life. 55 made field goals, 54 total fouls. It was ridiculous, but Texas comes out with a massive top 10 win, a rivalry win to get into SEC conference play. Oklahoma and Texas both having their first SEC games in this rivalry matchup. It was a fun one. It was a chaotic one. It was one that's going to have me hearing whistles in my dreams. But let's talk about it here on the No Cap Space postgame show. This game was a really interesting one. You hear the tale of two halves, but that's not really what this was. Really, Oklahoma won the first quarter and Texas won the rest. Oklahoma came out and was able to establish a 12-point lead and really did it through kind of beating Texas at their own game in the sense of using their ball pressure against them, cutting behind them, using the movement, making crisp passes. And in the second quarter, Texas sat up in the chair and locked in. It was a complete tone shift from the game. It ended up with Texas taking a 1-point lead going into half, and the turnovers just continued to stack up and stack up and stack up. Here's perspectives from both coaches on what went down between that first quarter and that second quarter, and led to Texas really carrying momentum for the rest of the game.
If we're just tough, physical, and aggressive, and I thought Oklahoma came out, and that's what they were, and they punched us, and we were really on our heels. I mean, got down 12. And so at that point then it becomes, okay, it's a little bit of a character check, to be honest. You know, who are we, what are we made of, and how are we going to respond? And I thought we responded very, very well. I was very proud of them at halftime because they responded in such a pleasing way. And so, again, that's Oklahoma though, mate. You can see that on film, and you know we tried to convey that to them, but I guess until you experience it, you don't really understand.
I thought our ball movement was really good in the first quarter, and then we had some moments I thought in the third quarter, but we went away from completing our cuts. We went away from just our receivers being relentless. I do think we rebounded the ball well. We just got to convert a little bit more.
Like I mentioned, fouls and physicality were a huge part of this entire game, and a big story when it comes to that was Reagan Beers having to sit out for a large majority of this game. Liz Scott and Beatrice Colton had good minutes in that, but nobody is truly replacing Reagan Beers, and the flow of this game was just tough, especially for a team like Oklahoma that relies on getting in rhythm, catching on fire in the way that they do. Here's what Jennie Baranczyk had to say about trying to find that rhythm in the midst of all the stoppages and whistles.
Well, I think in the first half we got some really good looks. I really do, and those are going to go in. In the second half, I feel like yes, you have to. They're obviously going to try to guard a three from that standpoint, but we didn't get enough of our pass aheads. We didn't get enough of paint touches and into a flow and player movement. I feel like we either got tired and then we would pass and stand, but when we move the ball and you get anybody into any kind of rotation, you're going to get some open looks, and then you can hopefully steal one in the full court. But the fouls, there were a lot of free throws, there was a lot of stoppage in play. That's not helpful for us. So we've got to find a way to be able to rebound the ball better, and or stop fouling. You know, we can't have dead ball rebounds. You can't set up the press break. You got to be able to keep that free flow. And and again, it might be different when I'm watching it on film than how it felt live, but I think that was a big thing for us.
And look, there was that many fouls on both sides of the ball. So really this game kind of came down to who was going to be the one to step up. And it ended up being the freshman from Texas, Jordan Lee, who played out of her mind on really both sides of the ball, but especially on offense, knocking down threes, spacing the floor for Texas a little bit, which is something that they've struggled with. We saw it in the Notre Dame game being a struggle. Here's what she had to say about her performance in this environment.
Just to see a few shots go down is obviously nice and helps me get into a rhythm. But again, just excited for the opportunity to compete. I mean, I have two amazing players even before Layla went out, a lot of great veterans to look after and embody and be competitive with in practice. And at the end of the day, they're good enough where you have to go take somebody's minute. So when I get a chance to step on the court, just have that pride and be able to compete.
And look, the Red River rivalry is not a stranger to having close games happen within it. And this is now one that the starter conference play that Texas can use to propel themselves with the momentum from it. Here's what Rory had to say about that, and as someone who has been a part of a lot of those close games.
I think I had a little chip on my shoulder. I didn't really get to play them last year, so it's always great coming down here to play. I know there was going to be a great crowd, so the fans were trying to see us lose more than anything. But I think this is a good teaching moment, and like Coach said, we found out a little bit about ourselves while we were down 12, and I think we found out about him. He trusted us in that moment to not call a timeout. He trusted us to come back and fight hard and represent Texas fight. So.
Well, Oklahoma and Texas, welcome to the SEC. As Oklahoma goes now to an undefeated Tennessee to try and bounce back from this loss. It's a grind, it's what we know the SEC to be, and it's something that these two teams are going to be experiencing for the first time at the same time, but it's Texas tonight starting it off with the momentum, with the big win, with the top 10 win in this Red River rivalry, and I'm ready to go to bed. There's Rod Wave playing on the court right now. There was so many fouls. There was a 12-minute review in this game. I'm ready to go to bed. That's it for me here with the No Cap Space postgame show.